Cahaba, Alabama. The Cahaba was the Alabama state's first capital and once a thriving river town that became a ghost town shortly after the Civil War. And this will be a spooky video for you, so grab your flashlight and your courage and let's dive deep into the mystery of Cahaba. Cahaba was founded in 1890 when Alabama became a state. It was chosen as the capital of Alabama because of the strategic location at the confluence of the Cahaba and Alabama rivers. The town was planned with a grid of streets, squares, and soon attract settlers, Manchesters, and lawyers and politicians. Cahaba was a bustling and prosperous town with elegant mansions, churches, schools, stores, and brick courthouse. It was also a cultural center, hosting balls, parades, fairs, and theatrical performance. However, Cahaba's glory was short-lived. In 1826, the state decided to move the capital to Tuscaloosa. Many residents and businesses followed the government to the new capital, leaving Cahaba declined. The town suffered another blow in 1845 when major flood destroyed many buildings and crops. Cahaba never fully recovered from this disaster and its population downleaded. During the Civil War, Cahaba became a prison camp for the Union soldiers captured by the Confederates. The prisoners were housed in an old cotton warehouse near the river where they faced overcrowding, starvation, diseases and abuse. Many of them died in the captivity or drowned in the flood that swept through the prison in 1865. After the war ended, Cahaba briefly became a heaven for the freed African Americans who sought new opportunities and political power. However, by 1870, most of them had left the town as well. By the turn of the century, Cahaba was almost completely abandoned. Most of its buildings were either burned down, decayed, or dismantled for bricks and timber. Nature reclaimed much of the town's land, covering it with trees and vines. Only few structures remain standing, such as St. Luke's Episcopal Church, the Crocheron Mansion, and the Perkin House. Now let's get to the Cahaba's ghostly reputation. This dates back to its early days as a capital. Some people believe that the town was cursed by the Native Americans who had been driven away from their ancestral lands by white settlers. Others claim that Cahaba was built on ancient burial ground that disturbed the spirit of the dead. These beliefs were reinforced by the frequent floods that plugged the town and caused many deaths and loss. Over time, many stories emerged about the paranormal phenomena of the Cahaba. Some of them involved sighting of apparitions, such as a woman in white who roamed the street at the night looking for her lost lover, a man in black who rode the horse throughout the town block, a little girl who played near the schoolhouse, and a group of soldiers who marched along a river bank. Other stories involved sounds of voices, footsteps, music, laughter, crying, gunshots, and chains rattling in the air. Some people also reported feeling cold spots, touches, pushes, or pulls from unseen forces. One of the most famous haunted spots in the Cahaba is the old prison warehouse where the Union soldiers were held captive. Many visitors have claimed to hear moans, screams, coughs, and prayers coming from the inside of the building. Some have also seen shadows moving across the wall or windows or felt a sudden drop in temperature or pressure when entering the warehouse. A few have even experienced physical attacks or injuries while exploring the site. The amazing haunted place in Cahaba is the Cochranno Mansion or the castle, which was built by the wealthy merchant named Richard Cochran in 1843. The mansion was one of the most impressive buildings in Cahaba at its time, but also one of the most tragic ones. According to the legend, Richard's wife died shortly after giving birth to their only child. His daughter married an abusive husband who killed her in fit of rage. His son-in-law committed suicide after being accused of murder. His grandson died of yellow fever, and his granddaughter ran with a circus performer who abandoned her later. Richard himself died alone in his mansion in 1867. Many people believe that Richard's family still haunts their former home. Some have seen light flickering on and off in the mansion or heard doors slamming or windows breaking. Others have smelled perfume or cigar smoke or heard piano music or singing coming from the inside. A few have encountered apparition of Richard or his relatives dressed in period clothing. And before the town named as the ghost town of the world, there are rumors of witches, satanic phrases, witchcraft, spell casting, and even curses have circled around this city. And famous curses was the black bag. The curse goes like this: if you saw a black bag in that area and you touch it, you will get cursed and probably get an attachment. And people who live there currently says that buildings with different shapes would appear and disappear, and there is no explanation for that. And now it's time for the story that made me F up. So the story is about a man that committed suicide due to a mysterious death of his wife and son. This happened in 1995. The family is in a driveway, and one day a super weird car drives up. It said an odd car drives up, and they look at the car, and a middle-aged lady wearing a black dress and a pointy hat walks out of the car. She introduced as their new neighbor. The man said she was super nice and super friendly, especially for their little boys. The man wife befriended the lady. People go to her house for dinner, they would talk, they all lady go to wife's house, they became friends. One night, the man woke up to a strange smell. He said it was the smell of rotten eggs. So he gets up out of the bed and he walks over his window. He looks out of the window and sees his neighbor's house absolutely covers in a green smoke. He later said that this was the smell of sulfur, which apparently used for making potion and cast spells. Now by the time he go and called the cops, the smoke was all gone and so was the smell. He warned about his wife, about the lady next door. Apparently they argued about his wife not going over there anymore and not talking to the lady anymore. But she didn't listen, and ultimately it led to the death of her and her 4-year-old son. One day the wife and the son go on a stroll. The weird lady invites them for the lunch. This is just an ordinary day, and that was the last time the man would ever see his wife and son alive again and in one piece. After a couple hours and multiple missed calls, the man grew suspicion and he decided to go on knock the neighbor's door. No answer. He went to the backyard looking through the windows, but all the blinds are down. He cannot see anything. He goes to the garage and bangs on the garage. Nothing. Knowing that this was his wife's and son's last whereabout, he called the cops and then did exactly what any other desperate man would do. He breaks the door down. Little did he know, entering that house would be the cause of his death just a few months later. What the man saw sent into a mental trance all the way until the cops showed up, dragged him to the ground and arrested him for the murder of his son and wife. Hold, because it gets way crazier. He goes under investigation. He just lost his wife and son. He absolutely terrified about what he saw and pretty much going crazy. And the cops take a report from him. These are his words that I'm gonna read now. I walked into a dark and smoky home in search of my wife and son. The only furniture there was in the home was a rocking chair that was nailed to the wall of the master bedroom. No couch, no TV, no bed. There was a room with hundreds of floating crosses. When I went into the kitchen, I saw a bathtub. Inside the bathtub, it was my wife and son. Their bodies were sewn together. My son's completely dead, and my wife looking up at me for help. All the hair on their head faces has been shaved off violently, and when I looked up, I saw the lady crawling on the wall, staring down at me, speaking in reverse, with her eyes going into her back of the head. I had no idea what she was telling, but she was screaming at me, and that's when the cops came in. I don't see how anybody can believe I did this. The man was sent to the insane asylum where he later committed suicide. When the people heard this story, they grew angry and they gathered against the town, saying, "Why did you guys do this to him? Why did you guys not investigate the murder that he was talking about?" Well, it turned out that the woman, her house, her car, and every single thing about her never existed. The man was arrested in his own house after his wife called the cops with her 4-year-old son in her hand, screaming and pleading to the cops for help. And these are the cops' words, while they heard man's voice in background speaking backwards, and then they hear multiple stabbing noises on the phone. The wife and son was stabbed 52 times altogether. A day after the man committed suicide, a middle-aged woman moves into his house. So some people have theories, and the most popular one of it, as I told, that they believe the man accidentally stepped on a black bag that was casted a curse upon the man. And to this day, people still see this bag on the streets and told not to go near them or not to even look at them. That's how terrifying this town is. This is Cahaba, Alabama. What do you all think about this? Let me know, and if you haven't watched my last 3 episodes, watch them: the Stanley Hotel, the Queen Mary, and the Alcatraz prison. If you really want to see how town looks now, I will pin a link in the description to a video by the Sherman the Vermin, my favorite YouTuber, going to this city to explore, and literally he saw multiple black bags on his way there. So see you all from a brand new series. Hit the sub, give a like, feel free to chat in the comment section, and your boy is out. Peace.